Hey everybody, Michael Reno Harrell here with Mostly Acoustic. Glad to have you with us today. I've got my good buddy David Sardinha. We're in his home in Cary, North Carolina. David has been a long-time friend and a friend to all of us who do what I do and so many like us out here. He's a music promoter. Thanks for having us, David.
Glad you're here, of course.
Let's start off with, do you play an instrument?
I do not. I tried it for a while and picked at it and stuff and decided much rather watch you guys do it.
Did anybody in your family play music?
Yes, oddly enough, I have two sisters and a brother, and they all played music, but I was never one to pick it up.
All right.
Yeah.
Were you into sports or were you into?
Sports, yeah. Sports and academics.
Academics.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your work life. Where'd you start? You started out in computers back when computers were computers.
I did. Out of college, I joined an IBM, a little small computer company out of New York.
Yeah.
And did that for several years and got the entrepreneurial bug after that and decided to go off my own and stayed in that industry for a while. And back around 2000, I decided I wanted to try something completely different. I was sort of at that point in my life, age-wise and other situations, and I decided to do something different. So I used to go up to a little town called Black Mountain, North Carolina, just outside of Asheville.
Yeah.
And there was a great music room there called the Gray Eagle.
Yep.
At the time. It's since moved to Asheville.
Right.
And I would just go up there to relax, and I discovered this acoustic music out there in Asheville. If you know anything about Asheville, it's sort of a hotbed for singer-songwriters.
Not hard, yeah. Run, if your car runs on the sidewalk, it'll kill eight.
That's right. Yeah. And I went to this, happened to be in town one day and saw this benefit concert going on, and it had 8 or 9 musicians playing. It was folks like David Lamott and Chuck Brodsky and Chris Rosser and
probably Jimmy
Landry, Christine Kane, David Wilcox. They were all in one room together, singing songs, and I was just like, wow,
So that was sort of your initiation into the singer-songwriter world.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So that inspired you to seek out more of that, or what?
Yeah, well, I still had my career going on at the time, but then around 2000, like I said, I was looking for something different, and I said, I live in the Raleigh area, and there was nothing like a listening room environment at all in this area.
Right.
And I saw what it was offering, and I said, I'm going to give that a try. And it was sort of the entrepreneurial in me. I just had never been in the restaurant business or music business or anything before, and just decided to give it a try.
So you decided you were going to open a full-time music venue from the get-go.
That's right. Completely lost my mind.
And it was called the Six String Cafe.
Six String Cafe.
And we all were happy you did that because it gave us a place to come here with great sound and great food and in a great location, easy to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And so how long did you do that? I know, but they
did it for 5 years at the cafe.
Right.
This will be my 20th year of promoting shows in this area. So I got the bug, and much like singer-songwriters, they don't. You develop a passion for it. It just becomes part of who you are, and I just kept plugging away at it. I've done several different variations of what it is. The latest one being at the Cary Theater. The town of Cary restored an old 1940s movie theater in downtown Cary as part of their revitalization, and I knew those folks from the town, and so we got together, and for the last 5 years I've been promoting shows there.
So in between that, so the Six String Cafe lasted about 5 years.
Right.
Why did that end?
Well, it's interesting, because it's a challenge. The music business is hard.
Yes, it is.
It's hard for every player, all along the way, and there's so many different. It's a hard business. But we had worked out a formula. We were very fortunate, I say that, and I completely mean it. We were fortunate, but we worked hard at doing it right too.
You did.
And I had this.
You had a great staff for one thing.
Yeah, I had a great staff. Well, the way that I tried to approach it was, I said, no matter where perspective you're coming from, if you're a musician, if you're an employee, or if you're a patron, I want you to feel like this place was made for you.
Right.
So I try to really do it, so the musicians that came through, whether or not it was their first gig or their 500th gig,
Right.
I wanted them to feel like rock stars. I wanted them to feel like they were welcome there and they were treated with respect and for what they brought to it. And I tried to do the same thing with employees and make customers feel at home as well. So we had worked it out, and it was doing okay. But as the situation I had a 5-year lease, and the landlord, I wanted to renew the lease, but the landlord wanted to have the sports bar next door expand into that space. So
Yeah.
so I wasn't able to renew the lease then.
So then you did you decide to back off from that whole thing, or
Well,
try to find a new
it
venue?
became part of who I was.
Yeah.
And so there was that. So I still had the desire to do it, but it was a challenge to say I'm going to open up another place all over again.
Right.
That's a tough nut to do. And I had so many friends like yourself, that I had developed over those 5 years, and I still wanted to see them. So I started talking to other venues in the area, see if they wanted to do music there. And then I would just start promoting and booking shows into these other venues, and
Right.
tried that for a number of years.
I remember that.
Mhm.
And then you sort of partnered with the city of Cary on the
Yeah.
Cary Theater,
Yeah,
and that's turned out to be.
that's been great.
So you're doing over 20 shows a year there
Mhm.
now.
About 2 a month, yeah.
What is kept you basically singer-songwriter acoustic based rather than just trying everything?
Yeah, I did try a little bit of different things, and I do from time to time. I'll have some bands come through,
Yeah,
but primarily I'm known for it when I do the singer-songwriter.
And the bands that come through typically you do a lot of bluegrass bands
Mhm.
and acoustic based
Yeah,
bands
exactly,
still,
exactly.
and sort of original music.
Mhm.
You sort
I
of
try to focus on original music.
Yeah.
We do one big show for us. We do a Johnny Cash tribute, but it's really more of a historical aspect of Johnny Cash. It's not just a cheesy tribute band that we do. It's very good. But
It
to
is.
answer your question, I think what resonated me with acoustic music is the storytelling aspect, the lyrical part of it, and just how that, we talked about this before, but how that triggers memories for people. And when you hear the story, how much you can relate to that story as something that happened in your life.
Right.
And then just to me, from the guitarist standpoint, just the different things that you can do with finger picking guitaring and playing the guitar, and how the guitar becomes part of the experience as well. And a lot of the folks that come through are certainly known for their songwriting ability, but their song playing ability is just as top notch.
And a great case in point was this weekend.
Yeah,
The show that we got to
Jack Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to watch and
Yeah.
hear the great Jack Williams. And
Unbelievable.
it's like the roster of singer-songwriters who are touring nationally come through here, and
Yeah, that's part of the
Great.
fortunate thing that we had. When I had the cafe, it really wasn't by design, but it turned out to be really one of the top rooms to play in the country. If you were touring 200, 250 dates a year, that was one of the places you wanted to be.
yeah, we all knew about it. Everywhere I went in the country, everybody I met.
And that was really how I attribute a lot of the success was the word of mouth. The singer-songwriting community. Yeah, I don't care what you do, from advertising as a promoter, you're trying to advertise, you're trying to do all that. It comes down to grassroots. It comes down to word of mouth. It's word of mouth among the musicians so that you get the good performances, and it really is word of mouth among the people who attend. They tell their friends and family, I just went to this show, and it's nothing like I've ever seen before. It's not like going to a bar and listening
Right.
to some,
It's a real concert
yeah,
atmosphere.
it really is.
For people out there who might, maybe they're in a desert where this doesn't exist.
Mhm.
What advice would you give to somebody that was interested in just bringing singer-songwriters to their community?
Well, the way I got started, really, the way I first started booking folks was 2 ways. One, I found other places. I found other six strings, if you will. There was Eddie's Attic Indicator at the time with Eddie Owen.
Been there for years.
Yeah, I was there for a year. There was a Club Passim up in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Gray Eagle that I mentioned earlier. So I reached out to those folks and talked to them a little bit about it, but I would just look and see who they were booking.
Right.
I think that's how I found you the first time. Was I think you were playing at the Gray Eagle,
Yeah.
and I saw that, and so I said, well, that's somebody I want to have as well. So I would just, and nowadays with the internet, it's
Right.
so easy,
Yeah.
and YouTube channels and things like you're doing here right now to discover new music. Just go down that wormhole
Yeah.
and find it, and you'll find out that most folks, again, if you're willing to treat them right and offer them a place to stay, they'll come play for you. They're out on the road anyway.
Oh yeah.
And just tell your friends, because when somebody experiences it up close and personal, and that interaction that you get at a show, it's just sort of this feeling where the musician feeds off the audience feeds off the musician, and it just starts growing from there. So I would definitely just, especially if you have room at your house for a house concert, go look at some of these venues, see who's playing, and then reach out to them and see if you can get them for a house concert.
Yeah, that's another whole, we could talk about that for hours, the whole concept of house concerts. Those of us who make our living with a guitar in our lap and a van, or traveling around the country, all of us who do this, we all play house concerts all over America. And most people think, well, I don't have enough room to do a house concert. Almost any house you can get 30 people in easily with just rent some chairs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You don't need a PA. You just invite some friends over. If you go to my website, michaelreno.com, we've got a section on there that you can check out that'll give you some hints on how to do a house concert. There, musicinyourhome.com, is that the address, huh? There are house concert sites out there that you can check out that'll give you, and believe me, we're all looking for places to play like that. We love playing places like David's got, where you can play in front of 150 or 200 people, but 30 people in your living room makes a wonderful, wonderful experience for everybody involved, including the artist. Most people have sort of a built-in audience after a while. Just their friends that are interested in the same thing. And it's really easy to do. You just have a covered dish, everybody sort of schmoozes a little, then you have a nice show, you put the artist up overnight in the guest room maybe, and the next morning you tell them bye. Your friends are happy, they're happy, and you can do that as many times a year as you want. And one of the great things is, maybe like in Hutchinson, Kansas, people don't know who I am, but they trust the couple that's doing the show there, and they say, well, we hadn't heard of this Michael Reno Harrell or Chuck Brodsky or Jack Williams, but if Tom and Betty are having them, they must be good, because every time we go we have a great time. So, and that's sort of what it's happened with you.
I was just going to say that exactly, because I have stuck to the format. And so in this area, people know what they're getting when they're coming to a six-string show.
That's right.
They know that it's going to be mostly acoustic.
Yep.
And they know that it's going to be at a certain quality and a certain professionalism.
Yep.
And so they don't have to know who it is that's coming through.
Right.
There's usually about a third of the house that's there just because they know, like we just said, they sort of trust that I'm going to have the right quality there. So, if I can bring a third of the house, and the musician has a little bit of a following in the area, and then some people trying it out for the first time, it's a good turnout for everybody.
And it is, you're right, it's word of mouth, it's grassroots, it's just like we've always said, you make fans one at a time. And they tell their friends, and it really is, it's grassroots. And there's an audience for it almost everywhere. There really is, once people find out what it's all about. And now on the other side of the coin, you've been at this 20 years, you've dealt with some of the greatest and some of the up-and-coming artists that people hadn't heard of. What advice would you give to young singer-songwriters, or guys my age and gals that are interested in doing it? What advice would you give them as to getting out there in the world and getting outside, beyond their woods, as they say?
Right. Well, I think first of all, there's no escaping the grind. That's it. In this industry, nobody really owes anybody anything, right? And everybody has to kind of put the effort in.
That's it.
And so go out there and play. If somebody offers you an opening slot, but it's going to be in front of somebody who has a good draw so they can see who you are, check your ego at the door, your pride at the door, and get out there and play for a half hour in front of this thing. So there's that part about it, and just grind away at it. But also, think of it like a business. You're running your own little business here. This is how you're going to make your livelihood. You decided to do that.
It's the entertainment business.
It is.
It should be the business of entertainment.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's simple stuff, because you'd be surprised how many musicians will come through starting out. They don't realize, put an email list out there on the table for somebody to sign up.
Absolutely.
Don't get discouraged that only 3 or 4 people signed it at that one gig. Because when you come through again, those 3 or 4 people are going to bring some friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll get theirs, and it starts growing and growing. But a lot of musicians won't do that. They won't think about that. They'll just play, and then they'll leave. And they might have found a fan, but nobody knows how to get in touch with you. And you don't know how to get in touch with them. So think of it as a business, and do those little things to say, yeah, I'm here. I do this because I love the music. But if I want to keep doing this, I got to work on building it up too. Because, a promoter, they're going to do everything they can. They're incented to bring as many people as they can. But they need the musician. At the end of the day, people are coming to hear the musician. They're not coming to meet the promoter.
That's right.
They're there for the musicians. And so it's their fans that are going to come out. So.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, I think most of us who do this, like, a good example again was referring back to the show Not Before Last at the Sixth String. As soon as Jack took his last bow on the stage and exited the stage, he was out front by the time the audience was there. That's the thing. Shake people's hands, tell them how much you appreciate them coming, and like you say, check your ego at the door, because these people have made an effort to come out and see,
and they paid money to see.
That's part of the effort.
And the other thing I tell musicians too, and sometimes when it's a grind, I get it. You're doing out there, and you're just, every night seems the same in some ways. It can be that way. But when you're a musician and you're physically standing up on the stage in front of the lights, to somebody in the audience, you're something special, right? It's not easy to approach that person. You see them as, I don't care what level you are, at some level you're a celebrity to that person in the audience.
You're already above
and
them.
You're physically raised above them. And so when you're in the lobby, and you really I want to meet this musician that just sang something or said something that just really impacted what you're going through in life at the time, right? It may not be easy for you to approach them because you feel like you're not allowed to.
Right.
So the musician who realizes that and comes up and says, "Thank you for coming tonight. Did you enjoy the show?" You've just broken the ice and made that night special for that person.
Right.
And they're going to go home and tell their spouse or tell their friends that I met the guy. He's a really nice guy too, and you get a fan for life. That's the one thing I'd like to tell musicians. The other thing is that somebody in that audience that night has been touched by something that you sang or said. You don't know what they're going through in life. You don't know what their situation is. But there's a lyric in the song, or there's a memory that you bring up that you've made an impact in that person's life that night. And that should make that musician feel great. Yeah. And to keep them going, to remember that you may think this is just another gig, but to somebody in that audience, it was a special night for them.
You're right. We hear it, and we hear you. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah, man.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
David Sardinha, Sixth String Presents. If you're ever in the Cary area, check it out. It's great. Thanks.
Yes.
See ya.